Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
If you are a golfer, you can relate to these top 10 caddy replies to the golfer that they caddied for. I love these. Here's the golfer saying, "I'd move heaven and earth to break 100 on this course." And the caddy says, "Try heaven, sir. You've already moved most of the earth." And here's two more. Golfer says, "Do you think my game is improving?" And the caddy says, "Yes, sir. You missed the ball much closer now." But here's my all-time favorite. Golfer, "Do you think it's a sin to play on Sunday?" And the caddy looks at him and says, "The way you play, sir, it's a sin on any day." Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith. And God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, God bless America, Kate Smith. Thank you so much. My home, sweet home. Yes, sir. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and we're brought to everybody by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, get rid of your garbage, call Kelly and the crew, 734-6969. I used to play a lot of golf until the old legs went totally shot, but man, I can relate to I love that one. Is it a sin to play golf on Sunday? Sir, the way you play, it's a sin on any day.
I don't play golf, and it would be a sin for me to play it any day.
Oh, I love that game. I just miss it dearly, and I wish I could play it again. How are you, Gina Jameson?
I am doing well, sir. It is a Wednesday. That means downhill slide for the weekend, and I'm excited about that, as always.
Yeah, we can get on the air on Wednesdays and go, whee!
All the way home!
All the way home. There you go. Do we have a pledger?
Well, yes, we do. We do have a pledger, and then we've got Michael Rogers on for the weather.
All right, very good. Pledger, go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we certainly do, and he did a good job. Rodney, God bless you, man. It's good to hear from you, and see you at Lunch Bunch, I hope.
Yeah, I'll have that petition for you there with whatever signatures I'm able to gather.
I appreciate it. Rodney, thank you. You did an excellent job this morning. God bless you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, buddy. Right now it's time for the weather, and it's sponsored by our dear friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door, or give them a call, 678-6945. They'll come right out and give you a free in-house consultation about how they can help beautify your home. That's right. With the hardwood, the laminates, the vinyl sheeting, and of course the tile, the carpets, the cabinets, all the countertops. My goodness, these people are handy. Kyle and Whitney Cheney of Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Right now, we'll look for Michael Rogers with his weather.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. It's going to be cloudy and yucky where you're at today. Scattered showers along with a possible chance of a thunderstorm. Cooler temperatures, though, 86 for the high, 68 for the overnight low. This will continue into tonight. also until tomorrow, tapering off tomorrow night, and then you got yourself a nice weekend coming up. So other than that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
Excellent forecast from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. Look for their blue door. Good morning, everybody. Oh, we got a lot of things to talk about. We've got some fantastic guests on the program this morning. Many times when Obamacare was in the planning stages, we had Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia, on our program. Well, she's going to be back again this morning at 10:06 talking about the diseases that are coming across the border right now with these children and things we need to be very, very cognizant about. Also, we've got Doug Johnson. We've got my neighbor Calvin Perkins. We've got Gannon LeBlanc from back east. So it's going to be a big morning this morning. Don't miss a minute of it. Hey, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Write that number down. Call them, and if you want your order waiting, they'll just have it on the counter. You can zip in, zip out after you've picked it up. Yep, they got air filters for your air conditioners. And, of course, you know they got cord ends for every piece of equipment that needs power. And they've got all the rubber cord, miles and miles and miles of it, and all the fuses, everything, and they still got a whole bunch of light bulbs, too. So stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they supply warm winters and cool summers. By the way, I had a call yesterday, and people are wondering, well, now, what about Valley White Home and Ranch? Can I go over and get my feed there for the fair? Can I go over and get my 4-H supplies? What about all the stuff I need, my clothes, my boots, everything? It's all there. Everything is there because it is fair time, and it's all there at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, and believe me, they are busy. They've got all your health supplies. They got all your buckets. They got all your pans. They've got everything you need. I'm serious. Everything you need to go to the fair. So it's right there at Valley Wine. Along with, if you're not going to the fair and you just say to yourself, I want to get out of here and go fishing, they've got all your fishing supplies too at Valley Wine Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop over and enjoy that store today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I never did like former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura. Now, if you think back on this program, and I've got it, it was in the books to have him on the program exactly 13 months ago. And we had it all set up with his agent that he was going to appear on this program, and Jesse Ventura backed out without even letting us know and left us cold turkey with a full half hour to fill on this program. And anybody that does that to me, I have complete disdain for if they don't give us knowledge that they're not going to be available. Well, he is the epitome of a worthless lowlife after what he has done in Colorado. I'll be right there, stand by. To the widow of Chris Kyle, and former Navy SEAL, hero for America. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the lawsuit that Jesse Ventura, how he won this lawsuit is beyond me, in getting almost $1.8 million from the widow of Chris Kyle, but it's despicable. Caller, go ahead, you're on the air.
Zeb.
Yes, sir, quick.
How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm between a rock and a hard place, and I think a lot of other good people are.
Why is that, Keith?
For the 2nd District of Congress is Mike Simpson and Richard Stallings. Now, I am not a fan of Mike Simpson because I don't think he's done enough for us. But I do know of Richard Stallings, who's done a lot against us, like introducing the wolves into Idaho. What are we to do
Well, I think the answer is fairly simple. You know my feelings about Mike. He hasn't come through on quite a few things, but the caveat is he has come through on many things. So, to look at Richard Stallings, the man's been out of politics for a long time, been out of touch for a long time, been out of contact for a long time, and I don't like his politics. I don't like what he stands for. The answer's obvious, Keith. You know the answer. Even though you're not happy with the one hand, you've got to say, hey, listen, wait a minute. If I go ahead and vote for Stallings, what am I going to get for the bang for my buck? Not much. And so, therefore, I think the answer is pretty obvious.
Well, it is, but do we want to pour a bunch of money into Mike Simpson because that's the only way he's going to win?
Well,
or do we just sit back and let it happen?
I can't answer that question. If you want to contribute or not, that's entirely up to you as a taxpayer. But as I look at this thing shake out, I think that you'll see Stallings get quite a bit of support around his area of eastern Idaho. I don't think you're going to see much support for Stallings at all down here in the southern part of the state, and I certainly don't think you're going to see any support over in the Boise Valley, or I'm talking small numbers, up in northern Idaho. I think it's kind of a slam dunk that Mike Simpson will beat Richard Stallings, and rightfully so. But I just think that in the future we've got to look at some more promising people that can do more and act like they really care for the constituency of Idaho.
Now, let me ask you a real hard question.
Uh-oh, look out.
That is, are you in favor of having Simpson as our next congressional representative?
You're going to have to speak up, Keith. We can't pick you up if you talk that low. You're going to have to talk up.
Are you going to be a strong advocate of getting Mike Simpson reelected?
Am I going to be an advocate? Okay, that's a fair question and a good question. I will say this. His office in the state of Idaho has always approached us and asked to run ads on this program. If that's being a strong advocate, I do the same in fairness to each and all candidates that want to advertise on this program. I think that answers your question. If they run the ads, I will be very, very professional and handle the ads with the utmost of care like I would for anyone or any advertiser. But will I give them exclusivity as far as anything special? No.
Well, and I think you've been more than fair with how you've represented people who have come on the air. You don't attack them unless they need it. And when you have to express your opinion, you do it in a very professional way.
I really appreciate that, Keith, because I'll give you a circumstance that really bothers me, and it's for the state treasurer's position, and Deborah Silver is running against Crane. And Deborah Silver is an avowed Democrat, and I tried to be decent with her. She's from this area. I tried to be decent with her over a year and a half, 2 years ago, as she was a spokesman for the Democratic Party, and I tried to get her on the program to talk about the platform, and she very rudely hung up on me in the middle of the conversation. Now that sticks with me, and I find that rudeness to be a total detriment to me having anything good to say about her or her campaign coming up this fall.
Well, how can you do it any differently? If somebody attacks me, I'm not going to support them, that's for sure.
That's right.
And I think your thinking is proper.
Well, I very graciously, and I had witnesses in the room when I called, asked if she could come on the program, and her response was less than professional, and then she slammed down the receiver. And so, therefore, she is, number one, if she wants to come on this program, she's always welcome, but she's going to have to approach me. Number two, she's not going to have good things said about her personality, or her abilities because of the way she treated me, and I'm going to judge her on that response.
Just like they used to say on Dragnet. just the facts, man.
There you go. I got to run and do a commercial, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Don't forget, tomorrow we are going to be at Denny's Restaurant at 611 Overland and Burley for our next lunch bunch, and that starts at 11:30 tomorrow morning at Denny's. Wow. Well, I guess that's the best word. Let's just say the word wow. That's what it is at Denny's Restaurant. You pick up the menu, you go wow. You get the food, you go wow. And after the meal's over, you go wow. And the service, wow. I mean, it's fantastic. You're going to love it. Wow. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. I mean, they really treat you right. I love those pancake poppers. You got to go in and try those with cream cheese. Knock your boots off. Delicious. I love them. And we're all going to be there tomorrow. Whether you want to order breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it's right there for you at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. Don't forget lunch bunch tomorrow at 11:30. We will see you there. By the way, real quick, I want to also remind you about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness, Eli and the rest of the crew. 3 locations to serve you: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, Highway 30 in Burley, and they've been in business over 30 years, and they've got all the larger construction equipment, man lifts, skid steers, excavators, and I mean, they've got all the tillers and mowers and all the other stuff, and they've got a great shop with full-time certified mechanics. I mean, they are good. You better believe it. The whole crew, Eli and everybody else, Nick over in Burley, they'll serve you. Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Al.
At Denny's, make sure you don't stand next to that southeast door.
Well, yeah, you in particular.
That's what I've been told.
Yes, sir.
Yes. But back to Ventura. Zeb, that is one of the lowest people I have ever seen in my life in this situation, what's going on.
Well, you know, maybe, in fairness, Al, maybe I should give a real quick recap for those that aren't aware of what happened, and then jump in if I make a mistake on anything. Basically, a couple of years ago, Chris Kyle and many of the Navy SEALs had gathered in San Diego, and they were having a wake for a SEAL that had passed away and got killed over in Afghanistan. And Jesse Ventura was also in that particular lounge, and he, being a former SEAL, he was bad-mouthing not only the United States Navy SEALs, but Ventura was also bad-mouthing America and also at that time George Bush. And pretty soon Chris Kyle had enough and told him basically to shut up because of the solemnity of the occasion with the losing of a SEAL. Jesse Ventura did not, so Chris Kyle knocked him on his keister, and that was the end of it, supposedly. Well, Chris Kyle was killed in an accident not long after that, and Ventura then started a lawsuit against Chris Kyle's wife saying that he was defamed, his character had been defamed, and he sued Mrs. Kyle and ended up somehow in the courts winning over $1.8 million on a defamation of character suit, which shows how low he is because he waited till Chris Kyle was dead, and then he goes ahead and sues. This is pathetic, Al.
I know it is. That's what I said. And he's got a hell of a lot of room to talk about character. That's one of the worst people I've ever seen as far as character and having these kids live up to his image. No way in hell.
Well, and look what he...
on a widow like that, he ought to be taken outside and just literally thump the hell out of him.
Well, the guy is, I think the guy's mentally unstable. You know, as governor of Minnesota, he had some crackpot ideas, and then, you know, he had thought about a run for the presidency. God save us all. And Jesse Ventura right now has lost any respect that he ever had. And like I heard this morning, one commentator said if he had any decency, what he would do is donate that money back to the widow herself.
Oh, he won't do that.
No.
That'd be below his standards. He can't do that.
I agree.
Anyway, have a good one, and I'll see you tomorrow at lunch, and I'll try and behave myself.
Well, that would be a first. Thank you so much. God bless you.
That'd be one hell of a big first.
Thanks, Al.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you, man. Hey, don't forget our friends at Snyder's Surplus. I love these folks over at Snyder's Surplus. They really care. They've got a brand new building. They had a devastating fire, as you know or may not know. And after that devastating fire, there. They rebuilt everything. We were over there and did a remote broadcast from their new location, and they are the nicest folks. And it's not just Army and hunting supplies. They've got something for everybody. And one thing I want to push, and I've got to get over there myself, they've got office chairs from $5 to $15. Well, you can't beat that price, and they want to get rid of the bunch they've got because they got more coming in. So stop over there and really enjoy the store. Snyder's Surplus. These are wonderful people serving you at 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. And don't forget, friendly service, new merchandise, new store at Snyder's Surplus. Really good folks. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm probably going to carry this story or this thought into the next half hour, but I'm very serious when I say this. I yesterday had a chance to visit with some of my friends at various think tanks on the East Coast yesterday, conservative think tanks, and many of the people I talked to, and then last night the thought was reiterated by O'Reilly, and I've got to give O'Reilly credit on that last night. Folks, we've got to be prepared, and we have to be ready to protect ourselves. We're living in a world right now, we're living in a country right now that is a target. And I absolutely was scared in thought, word, and deed last night after I listened to not only these people on the East Coast talk about various things that are going on behind the scenes that haven't even hit the news yet, but you know, there are various factions out there like Al-Qaeda and all the terrorist groups, and we have many of which are based here in the United States, New York, Texas, Oregon, our neighbor to the west, and we're fairly naive. There are evil, bad people around us, and we've got to acknowledge and understand that the police cannot be everywhere to serve you and help you and protect you at once. And you need to develop safe strategies of protection for yourself. And I think what I'd like you to do is tell me, you don't have to identify yourself by any means, but tell me what you're doing to basically kind of shore up your protection and make sure that your family and you might be covered or at least safeguarded from some of the bad, evil people out there. I think, honestly, to sum it up, it's time to lock and load. And I urge people to understand the value of knowing how to use a firearm and knowing where to store everything so that it has immediate access for you, knowing what to do in various situations. There are many courses available to teach you various things like that. We're going to talk about this right after I have the Capital Press Ag Minute and take this call. All you have to do is just wait 60 seconds. I'll be right back. Do not hang up. I'll be right there. Here's the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration isn't required to restart the process of withdrawing antibiotics from subtherapeutic use in animal agriculture, according to a federal appeals court. The majority opinion has removed roadblocks to the agency's voluntary 3-year plan for phasing out the use of antibiotics to promote growth in food animals. The decision from the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals overturns an earlier court ruling, which held that FDA was bound to proceed with the withdrawal process it had begun in the late 1970s, but discontinued. The appellate ruling said it's within FDA's authority to implement a voluntary method to reduce the risk of antibiotic-resistant bacteria developing in livestock. This is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Oh, thank you very much, Capital Press. It's a pellet, not appellate. Brandon, please. Call, I'll be right there. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the square in Rupert. Oh, they've got a bakery over there that is so good. Wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls. Oh, my! And they're open Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 6 to 2. You're going to love this place. Sophie's Chatterbox, right on the square in Rupert. Woo, good eating for you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. You were talking about what we were doing, what we did to prepare and all?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what we got. We got a 12 gauge, 3-06, both for hunting and defense, and we've got a lot of food storage here.
That's good. That's good, and I hope water...
We got plenty of ammo for if we need it.
I hope water is also a very integral part of your food storage. People need to be prepared, and I absolutely stress, more so than ever before, we're hearing stories about how Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups want to have kind of a call to jihad, and you never know where it's going to be. People say, well, they'll probably hit New York, they'll probably hit Chicago, they'll probably hit L.A. We don't know where they're going to hit. We don't know what's going to happen, but preparation is very important.
For all we know, they could hit one of the churches around here. That'd be a prime target.
Well, yeah, anywhere is a target, and I think people are naive if they think it can't happen in rural America. Rodney, thank you for your call. God bless you, man.
Water goes.
What's that?
I've been looking at ways to purify water, and we have a little hand pump that I can put on our sand point out here.
Okay. All right. Good idea. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rod. Appreciate it. You bet. Thank you, sir. What about the rest of you? I just honestly think that we're in a situation here right now where we have the government, the one-all, catch-all panacea, all will be there, and then, of course, we have those anti-gun zealots that are trying to stop us from protecting ourselves, etc. All the more reason, I think, that we need to be in great preparation, because I'm not trying to preach. A lady called me the other day, and she says, you know, are you preaching doomsday? No, as a matter of fact, just the opposite. I'm preaching against doomsday. I'm preaching that we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared to shoot and protect our families and ourselves. We need to be protected. And there are evil people out there that want to do very evil things to us and our country and America in general. And we need to understand what and how to do various things, whether it's preparation for a natural disaster or whether it's preparation for human-made disasters. We need to be prepared. And I dare anybody in the audience to snicker up your sleeve and tell me I'm wrong. The police and people that work in serving the public cannot be everywhere at once. You can't call 911 and say, out in a rural area, 9-10 miles away, I need you here right now. Just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. And you have to be solely responsible for your safety and the welfare of your family. Are you ready for that? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Sugar beet growers, I need your attention. Introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content of your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound, xemium, that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. As I said, with the application of BASF's Preaxor, 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. You'd better contact your local ag chemical supplier today, right now. Or you can also call BASF's Ron Ellis, good friend of mine, 431-6776, or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Okay? You know, the one thing that surprises me is when you get into this subject of preparedness, home preparedness, self-defense, etc., there are always those that will call after the program, and they will criticize you for bringing it up. You right-wing nut, you're thinking the end is near, chicken little, sky is falling. No, I'm not saying that, but I know that I'd much rather be prepared, know where things are, know possibly through scenarios that I've practiced in my mind, etc., what needs to be done, escape plans, natural disasters, where you're going to go. Like Sharon Hardy Mills one time in this program said, have a little kit made up, various clothes, medicines, etc., so in case all of a sudden you have to leave home, you've got something available to help you in a moment's notice as you run out the door. There's nothing wrong with being prepared. okay? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really was mad at the Times News with their editorial that they had this morning, and I'm going to discuss that in just a few moments. But first and foremost, I wanted to mention some more of the great merchants that are taking part in, of course, the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for this year, and they include Dot Foods and Burley. And they're now hiring, by the way, 678-6063, or you can go to their website, drivefordot.com, and boy, I'll tell you, that's like working for a family. You better believe it. Short answer is they're a family-owned company that wants to offer you some great, great benefits, attainable bonuses, and just absolutely give them a call. Talk to Dot Foods and Burley, 678-6063. Also, we want to acknowledge Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. These are really good folks, locally owned and operated, quality seed at competitive prices, and they will continue to provide the customer service and seed available at Golden Valley Warehouse. And Joe Taylor, what more can you say about Joe? I mean, he's a legend. Joe Taylor with Carey and Adams Realty, 1826 Overland Avenue in Burley. Buys and sells real estate. One call does it all. 678-9400. The best, honest and hardworking Joe Taylor. Really a good old guy. I like him. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The op-ed piece in the paper this morning really slammed our Governor Butch Otter, because Butch came out a couple of days ago and I think told it like it was as far as his thoughts on closing down our borders, the state of Idaho, and telling the federal government not to send any of the unaccompanied young illegal aliens. The Times News calls them migrants. That's a misnomer and very poor grammar as far as the use of that word. They are unaccompanied young illegal aliens coming into this country. And basically our governor said it should be understood that the state of Idaho and its subdivisions will not be actively involved in addressing the humanitarian crisis the federal government has created. Well, the Times News came out with an op-ed piece this morning, and they really blasted him and seemed to almost blast most of us Christian conservatives. And I take a lot of this blasting myself because I absolutely have spoken out against any of these kids coming into the state of Idaho. And I'd like to ask a couple of questions regarding this issue. When do you or anyone else have the right to break the law or our Constitution and demand to live here, demand to be fed here, and demand to make our taxpayers, me and others, pay for it? When? Now, here's another question I'd like to pose to the Times News op-ed staff. I'm sure they thought of this when they wrote this wonderful article. These children are used as pawns from other countries to get them in here and to establish an ending to the liberal left's plan to eliminate immigration rules and borders. In other words, these kids are being used as pawns, like from Honduras, Costa Rica, even Mexico, to come up here and force our government to eliminate immigration rules and borders. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, this supposed nightmare in South America did not happen overnight. Think about this. All of a sudden, parents didn't wake up and say, I got to get little Emily on the bus and send her completely through Mexico with a coyote up into the United States because all of a sudden the gangs and the drug traffic is so bad overnight in South America. No, it did not happen that way. And to blame our governor, the Times News and many of the leftists right now in this area should be ashamed. But we're accepting an open door policy. And all that does with an open door, open border policy is breed more contempt for law and more contempt for our Constitution and creates more illegal alien problems. And that's what the left wants. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jed. You know, when you listen to people like Kirsten Powers, everything is Alice in Wonderland. We don't have a problem. Of course, the fact is, our country has been invaded. It's been invaded every day. And every time I see a truckload of these people pouring into this country, I think of the Trojan horse. We are in serious condition. People need to arm themselves because one day all hell's going to break loose in this country.
Tony, okay, let's use the Titanic as an example. They only had so many people that could fit into the lifeboats, and then they had to curtail any more people getting into the lifeboats because they knew that if they were going to save lives, they had to stop the influx of people with the overweight getting in the lifeboats, and everyone would have died. This is what's happening in America. Right now we have a crisis. We don't have the employment. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the welfare plans to take care of these people. We don't have the American taxpayer with full pockets that can help support everybody and anybody and all their kids. Tony, it just isn't going to work anymore.
Oh, I know. You know, on top of that, we're surrounded by, we're invaded at the border. We're surrounded with training camps, and I know darn well these people are just waiting for the green light to start attacking us. You know, what else can we say to our politicians that we can't get enough information on what's going to attack us first? We can't get any information from the politicians of what's going on in these training camps. You know, how are we supposed to protect ourselves?
You know, and that's an interesting conversation. I got into kind of a heated debate the other day with, I will consider this person to be very naive because he hasn't done his homework. The book that you're referring to and the situations you're referring to is a book that was written by Martin Moyer. I've had him on my program, and it's called Twilight in America, and he went through and specifically outlined through great extent research where some of these Al-Qaeda and terrorist camps are being performed and set up around the United States of America, New York State, Upper New York State, Texas, Oregon, many other locations around the country. And it's very, very scary, very spooky as to what they're preaching as far as jihad and death to America, etc. And only a person that lives in a shoe and very naive would look at this situation and just say that they're not here. Yes, they are.
Oh, they're here. They're walking among us. They're just waiting for that green light, you know. It's just like what's happening over in Israel. Hamas is the shock troops that are ready to try to damage Israel enough to where the other bunch there, ISIS, Hezbollah, and Al-Qaeda, will be able to move in and finish the job, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. That mess over there on the Gaza Strip, I absolutely support Israel. I absolutely support a pull-the-trigger attitude to the point where they've got to stop this through force. Negotiations has not worked. John Kerry, Secretary of State for the United States, has made a bigger debacle out of this mess than ever before. He should stay out of it, shut up, and come back here to this country and let Netanyahu and others try to settle this on their own. This is not something the United States wants to go in and hurt Israel as our number one ally in that area.
We're in trouble, Zeb. I don't know.
Well, we are, but then on the other hand, Tony, I'll go back and revert to what I said about 15 minutes ago. Only a naive and, quite frankly, stupid person would disavow the fact that we have to learn to protect ourselves in our own environment, in our own area, in our own geography. We have to learn how to do that, and that's only common sense today.
Well, you're right there, but trying to get people organized to make enough waves here that if the politicians are listened to, it is almost an impossible task.
Well, you know, I agree with that statement to a certain extent, but it was interesting yesterday as we were talking about various political stories in the first hour. I know they were listening to us back in Washington, D.C. at many of the different offices because my wife had 2 or 3 calls right afterwards in regards to what I had said on the air in regards to illegal aliens and other topics. topics. So I know they're listening to us, and they want to know what's going on out in the hinterland. Tony, thank you. God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, God bless. Hey, we've got to do a weather forecast real quick. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. And working hard to provide great service to all the communities in Magic Valley. Gentle Ben, Leslie, and the whole crew at Burley Glass. And check out the vinyl windows. They can increase the energy efficiency of your home by at least 2 to 3 times. Absolutely help my office like you can't believe. Appreciate it. Burley Glass. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. It's going to be cloudy and yucky where you're at today. Scattered showers along with a possible chance of a thunderstorm. Cooler temperatures, though, 86 for the high, 68 for the overnight low. This will continue until tonight, also until tomorrow, tapering off tomorrow night, and then you got yourself a nice weekend coming up. So other than that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
No, I appreciate that. MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yes, they are the best. What do you think about the illegal aliens? You know, so many news outlets will not use that terminology anymore. For some unbeknownst reason to me, it has become not PC, not politically correct. And if you look up the definitions in a Webster dictionary or a Funk and Wagnall dictionary, you will find out we are not being abrasive, we are not being calloused, we are not being low class by calling these people as they are, illegal aliens into our country. That is absolutely a proper terminology. It's only through the PC crowd that tries to lessen the value of our words that they try to change everything. And I'm sick of it. I will not conform to PC. Never in any response. By the way, don't forget Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. The Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, August 5 through 9, and they every year have over 30,000 fairgoers just enjoy all the exhibits, all the fair activities, all the equipment displays, all the fun things that are over there, including the PRCA Rodeo, including a huge parade that's going to be at 5 p.m. on August the 5th. That's going to be really a good parade. And of course, all the go wild, the go hog wild type things with the pig wrestling and everything else. It's fun. It's a county fair you're going to have a lot of fun at. Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, August 5 through 9 at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. You be there. Going to be good. Going to be good. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was another part of the op-ed this morning in the Times News that I'm going to read, and I'm just going to give a response to. It says, quote, as we've said before, illegal immigrants are in many ways the lifeblood of the Magic Valley. Up to 80% of the laborers toiling on the region's dairies are here illegally. Stop right there. Stop right there. If the lifeblood of Magic Valley, think about those words, the lifeblood of Magic Valley, is based upon illegal aliens coming in here to work, then we as a valley, we as a workforce need a transfusion. If the dairy industry or any business is supporting breaking laws and breaking the Constitution, they need to be held legally responsible for lawlessness. At a time in our nation's history when our Constitution is being shot at, hacked away, absolutely thrown on the floor and stepped on and scoffed at, and at a time when our borders are like porous Swiss cheese, nobody respects the sovereignty of the United States. If we have one group or any group that basically says, well, we're going to go ahead and break the law because we need this, that, or the other thing, something's wrong with our country, our demeanor, and our country's personality. Something is wrong, and I hope it can be fixed. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I have said for a long time, and I'll still stand behind this, that if you take most of the people on welfare and aid either by the Fed or the state, most of the people There are those that need the help. There are those that I'm willing to help myself. But there are many of those that need to get up off their dead butts, off the couch, and be forced and coerced to go out and get a job and be contributing factors to our economy instead of being pimples on the face of a complexion that needs to cure itself and heal up. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. I'll take your call. Please give me a call if you would, please. Remember the other day when we had Kerry Kupek on our program talking about Planned Parenthood? I have nothing good to say about Planned Parenthood organization and their various offices, if you will, around the United States. And I'll tell you why. Now it's been estimated, and I'm not making these numbers up, that came right straight from various figures that have been turned into the media, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, etc. Now it's estimated that 1 in 4, 25% of Planned Parenthood office locations have illegally cooked the books to get more taxpayer money. In other words, they're cheating to get more taxpayer money from the federal government. Millions of dollars more. Millions of dollars more out of your and my pocket. Planned Parenthood. Cooking the books. Cheating, lying, stealing from the American taxpayer. And this morning, you remember on Mondays at 9:30, Alliance Defending Freedom, we have a young lady on the program. Her name is Kerry Kupek, and she's been so good to come on our program and be very educational and informative. She was featured on the worldwide Fox News this morning at, I think it was 4:40, and did an outstanding segment about Planned Parenthood and really how they are cheating you and I, the taxpayers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I want to go back to your statement about help on the farm, and I'm a farmer, and so I'm speaking from experience. When our boys were old enough to work on the farm, they did it, and they worked hard and they worked long hours, and both of them know how to work still, and one of them is a farmer. But over the years, trying to get kids to come and work for you, trying to get parents to allow their kids to work hard, trying to get them to be on time and take responsibility. This is something that kids don't do nowadays. And I know that there are farmers who are hiring people to do what a lot of times their kids would have done, and I don't know what's happened.
Well, let me ask you, though, Chris, if we're a legal nation and we uphold the laws that are set in a civilized society, how can we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, well, we'll skirt around this particular issue and allow illegalities to happen just so we get this done? I mean, you've got to draw a line in the sand, and you've got to say that if it's illegal, it's illegal, and we have to be responsible for our lawlessness, and we have to make reparations to make sure that if we want to do things in a legal fashion, that maybe the laws have to be rewritten. Maybe we need to have work permits become more easily acceptable, but we can't keep breaking the law and just turning a blind eye to this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and our farm does the H2 program. Mm-hmm. Believe me, we pay plenty to get those guys here.
Yeah.
And we have a contract, and if they don't keep their contract, we can terminate them and send them back. But the problem is why aren't Americans teaching their kids how to work?
Well, then go one step further, though, Chris.
Something dirty.
Go one step further, though, and go into the area. And I wish I had more time, but I've got to cut this off in about a minute or so. Go one step further to the welfare program, and you know people that are abusing the system. We all know people that are abusing the system. And the system is letting abuse run rampant. And we need to clarify who is able, who is not able, who should be drawing, who shouldn't be drawing any of the benefits paid by the American taxpayer, kick them out, and basically force and coerce them to get a job and be productive.
Well, and there again, you are just putting together new voters for a certain party that we both know.
Yes, that's true.
So, I don't know. We have gone so far backwards. How in the world are we going to turn this train around? And I'm glad that Butch said what he said.
I am, too, and I'm glad to hear you say that. Thank you, Chris. I got to run. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Key word is serving as I choke on a sip of water. And don't forget they've got all your tires, different tread designs, and the very, very best in brake service. Yes, they do. Professionally trained technicians, best brake warranty, 30 years experience at least, premium quality parts. I'm telling you, the best brake value promise in the industry. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, the best of batteries. I mean, hey, it's all there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with, of course, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Coming up next hour, we've got Doug Johnson from Colorado. Always look forward to having Doug on the program. Great insight. He's quite an author and has a very interesting blog, the Horse Sense blog. And then at 9:30, a gentleman that lives just exactly a mile up the road from me, and he has turned a great job or hobby of being a super smart technician into a fun job of building mechanical bulls that have gone all over the country. They've gone into movie sets, they've gone into bars and lounges, they're used as training devices. He's number one at what he does, Calvin Perkins, and he's going to be on the air at 9:30 this morning. So don't miss a good hour coming up. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll see you back in 6. Welcome back, hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on Wednesday, July 30th. And holy smokes, where did this month go? Wow. Good morning, I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and its reasons. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. They've got all the dumpsters in various sizes. If you're cleaning something out like the basement or the garage or the shop, holy smokes, they can have a dumpster right there that's going to fit all the garbage needs you have, and then they'll come get it when it's all full. You check it out today. And don't forget summer, business meetings, and of course all the picnics and the family reunions, everything you need, the porta potties, well, they've got them. All you have to do is call 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Hey, by the way, don't forget on Thursdays tomorrow, we're going to have the program called Gardening for Idiots, and of course that's sponsored by Vicky's Country Gardens at 185 South 600 West of Paul on the Burley-Paul Highway. And the number to call, 438-5663, for the very best of all your gardening needs and all your landscaping needs. Remember, Vicky's Country Garden. Really a nice lady. By the way, Deanne, somebody called just a moment ago while you were outside. I don't know. I couldn't get to the phone. They didn't leave a message. There you go. Handsome Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Don't forget, Joel Heward, manager. You know, if there's the passing of a loved one in your family, it's so difficult to try to, I got to go here. I've got to take care of this. I've got to get this written right now. I've got to dot all the I's and cross all all the T's. Wait a minute, stop. Just take a deep breath and call them at Hanson Mortuary, 436-5636, located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And the thing that we all need to do for our families to alleviate a lot of the stress and worry is get the pre-planning on funerals so that that stress is not there. Call them today, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636, Joel Heward, manager, owner. Well, let's go to the phone lines right now, and I get a chance to talk to my old buddy, sidekick from Colorado. Good morning, Doug Johnson. How are you?
Well, I'm good, Zeb, and I consider it an honor to be called your sidekick. Thank you.
Well, you know, isn't that kind of interesting how those days have gone by the wayside? Remember the old Westerns with Gene Autry and his sidekick, and then, of course, we had Pat Buttram as the sidekick for Roy Rogers, and it seemed like all the good guys in the old Westerns, they always had sidekicks.
They absolutely did. You know, Lone Ranger had Tonto. I mean, every one of them did, and that's what I grew up on. I still love them. Whenever I can watch them, I do. In our household, old Westerns are watched whenever we can find them.
You know, it's kind of funny, though, that the sidekick back in the old days, either one was the hero and the other one was the buffoon or kind of the clown, but the guy that played the sidekick never really did get the hero billing or anything. He was always kind of the guy that got tangled up in his spurs and fell on his face.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a good role for me. So, yeah, that's very true.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something this morning, Doug, and I don't think there's anybody that has more ability to write about this or more ability to converse about this than you do, and that is the laxity, the legalization, and the absolute mess that's being caused in Colorado because of legalization of marijuana. I heard a story yesterday that scared me. They were saying that homeless people are coming into the Denver area, and the percentages have gone up like 30 to 40% of people just wanting to sit on the grass in the city park and get high. This is ridiculous. What's going on back there?
Well, you just hit it on the head. It is a mess. They've got that. They have a mess to deal with driving under the influence. Of course, the feds are now starting to study what would be considered an acceptable level of use of marijuana, you know, for being allowed to drive, much like we do for alcohol in our laws. And Colorado's right at the forefront of facing that because of the legalization here. And sadly, what I think a lot of the costs that are involved that we're seeing, just starting to see, were never thought about. All politicians could think of was, oh, there's tax revenue to be had. And the old thing of the 60s radicals of, well, it's just marijuana. It's not the same as other drugs, not recognizing that it is a gateway drug. I actually think alcohol is the real gateway drug. But nonetheless, the legalization of it in Colorado has started a snowball effect that is now starting to roll across the country. I have a radio show I do regularly in Oregon, and they're wrestling with this there now, and they keep asking me about these things too. And as I've told them, I've said, once you do it in one or two states, it's not going to go away. They're not going to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak. And so I fear that we're going to see this go national, and it's going to be a real mess.
Doug, let me state the other side, kind of play devil's advocate with you for a minute, and I honestly do believe it this way, so it's not an opinion that I'm just forming to have a discussion. I don't look at alcohol, just the word alcohol, be it wine, be it a can of beer, or be it whatever, as a gateway drug for any and all circumstances like marijuana and other drugs, and I'll tell you why. If I sit down with friends at dinner and have a glass of wine, my intent and purpose of having that glass of wine was not to get high, not to escape reality, not to be a incoherent, slobbering bum. It was just to sit and enjoy the tartness, if you will, of a glass of wine prior to a meal. Whereas when you take marijuana or any drug, there is one sole intent, and that is just to get high and escape reality. I think those are very definitive.
Well, I think you make a good point. This is a hard one for me to comment on, Zeb. have a religious conviction against any form of alcohol or any form of drug, so it's hard for me to really relate to that. But trying to look at it objectively from the outside, I think you make a good point, because many people do just have alcoholic beverages in a social setting, like you say, with dinner or something, or maybe before dinner or during watching an athletic event or something like that, not with the purpose of just, getting drunk. So I think you make a good point. Marijuana use comes out of the drug culture very much as a product or a substance that is designed to remove you from reality, and I think this is something that really says a lot about the moral breakdown of our country. Alcohol has a little bit different background, although I do believe those who use alcohol and find it as a substance to abuse or an item to abuse, I think they can be drawn to other drugs. But certainly many, in fact, the majority of people drinking alcohol don't go on to other drugs. There's no doubt about that. You make a good point.
Doug, I've had many people call, and as a matter of fact, some very good friends, and Howard Woldridge, years ago, rode across America on his horse Misty, and he has been an advocate for legalization of drugs, saying basically, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or what he believes, but basically the legalization of drugs would make drugs start to diminish and go away. I don't believe in that philosophy, and I think that we need to be much tougher on our stand of drugs and drug use, marijuana, heroin, everything. I just don't think a society that's going to cope with those on a legal basis is going to be a society that I want to live in.
Well, I think we have not seen, and I don't know statistically, but I don't think we've seen any great success of that in the European countries that have legalized things. And the other side of it, I guess, is it reminds me of years ago, Zeb, I had a couple good friends. One was a sheriff and one was a judge. And we were at a dinner party one night at the judge's house, us and our wives. It was just the six of us. And after dinner, the guys sat at the dining room table having this big discussion. The ladies walked out of it. They were tired of it, about legalization of things such as drugs and prostitution. And the judge and the sheriff, now mind you, everybody there was very conservative, but the judge and sheriff had very strong libertarian leanings, which is what you see a lot of the pro-legalization of drugs going through the libertarian movement. And they tried to argue with me that it would reduce crime and create a safer environment to legalize drugs and to legalize prostitution and stuff. And I stood my ground and said no. And in the end, when they looked at me and they said, we don't understand. We can show you statistically that it will actually be a benefit to society. Why wouldn't you go along with that? You're a conservative person. And I said, because I think at some point there's a moral decision that overrides economic issues. And so to me, it is immoral to legalize prostitution. It's immoral to legalize hard drugs. So I can't go for that. I have to stand against it. Now, I will say I was pleased when all three wives came out of the kitchen and gave me a standing ovation. But the point being that I think there are certain things, certain decisions we make in society that are not just about economics and not just about what people want to do. There are certain standards we must have to maintain an orderly and just society. And by legalizing these things, we're causing trouble and causing really a breakdown of our structure of our society.
I totally agree with what you said. And the U.S., the United States, are we so far bent on liberal destruction, going to the left, that we've lost our values? I mean, every day I'm just absolutely appalled at some of the values that were held dear when I was a youngster growing up, and some of the do's and the don'ts and the black and the white, and that you won't cross that line, that's not acceptable. Boy, that's all gone, Doug.
It is gone, and you see it, and this is really important, Zebby. I'm glad you brought this up. You see it even in the little things like language on television. There is, if you watch any cable or satellite, forget broadcast television, you cannot get away from the foul language. But even on broadcast television now, things are allowed to be said, and subjects are allowed to be addressed that never were when we were growing up. And people would say, well, it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. The Bible says that it's the little foxes that destroy the vines, meaning it's the small things that eat away at the roots and destroy the foundation of a healthy plant. And that's what's happening to our nation. these little things eat away at the foundation of the morals of our country, and they are destroying our country.
You know, I have not been a fan, you know that, Doug, of Barack Hussein Obama. I have not been a fan of his ideology. I have not been a fan of the people that work in his administration. I don't like or respect the man or his issues. I don't like anything about his administration. I can't be any more blunt than that. And I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that this administration is put here for the purpose of destroying the moral fabric of America and leading us down a socialist path of where we're just a bunch of sheep and numbers and nobody's an individual. That's my honest appraisal of Obama.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, and you and I have talked about a lot of these things. I mean, people have a hard time thinking of the idea that God would allow a man like Barack Obama, an administration like his administration, in to destroy a great nation like America. But the Bible is very clear about a lot of things, and one of which is God allows, no ruler goes into power anywhere without God's allowing it, and he allows it for his ultimate purposes. But I guess, you know, it's interesting you also bring this up, Zeb, because while I tend to agree with you on all that, one of the things I struggle with, and I mean it's a real struggle for me, is I know the Bible teaches me that I'm supposed to pray for my leaders. Regardless of who they are, I'm supposed to pray for them, and it's really, really hard for me to pray for the people in leadership over this country, and it's a fight, it's a struggle to do it, and yet I know I need to. And I think we as Americans often forget that our greatest strength comes from on high. It comes from the divine, and if we don't turn to God about all these things, from who our leaders are and how they're running our nation to the values that are being broken in our society, if we don't do that, we're never going to see a chance of returning this society at what it needs to be. And I fear we have passed the point of no return, as you know, I've said many times. And I think each day we see more of it. We have I think the phrase that's being used now very openly is we have a lawless president, and that's so true. And so we shouldn't just be thinking badly about him and about things he does and things he says. We should be actually praying that his eyes be open and that he sees where he's wrong in his life. That's the only real hope for America.
Okay, I would buy that, and I agree with you, and I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with you. And we've had this discussion privately on phone calls from Colorado to Idaho as far as supporting leadership. And yes, the Bible does tell us that. But the caveat is that when that leadership, any leadership, turns away from the Bible and the principal values of treating mankind as honored and respected, then that leadership is no longer to be revered by me, and I won't.
Well, and this is a hard one to kind of, I don't know what the word is, I want to say dissect, but to work through, because I think you're right, Zeb. And so at the same time, while we have the right in America, which is unique of all nations on earth, we have the right to stand up and take a stand against these things, and we should. Absolutely we should. On the flip side, while we're doing that, we should be praying for our leadership and encouraging those who will listen to us to move their lives and move them in the right direction.
I agree.
So it's a double-edged thing, but I do think we have to stand up because they have to have that resistance, and we are allowed by the laws of our nation to do that. And so it's very right for Americans to stand up and say, no, we've had enough. Right now, just bringing up an issue that I'm sure you've talked about quite a bit on your show, this whole border crisis we have on the southern border. There are 90%, I repeat that because it's such a huge number, 90% of Americans believe we have a problem on the border, and 77% of all Americans, not just people on the left, but 70% of all Americans believe these people should be deported. 64% of American Hispanics believe they should be deported. That is, I mean, you could not have more unity in America. You compare that to the American Revolution against Britain, only 16% of Americans supported and agreed with the revolution against Britain. So we have a huge majority favoring standing up to our government, and we should. I think it's really important. I think you're right on that.
Well, I'm going to stand behind our governor, Butch Otter, that said, no, we will not accept any of these illegal alien children into the state. You have to draw a line in the sand. And right now, Doug, the situation that we have in this country, we are not taking care of our own. We have, and I've been in these areas in the South. I've seen these areas in the Midwest, i.e. Chicago, etc., that are absolutely horrendous areas of death, destruction, and chaos, and we're not taking care of our own. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the welfare programs. We don't have the wherewithal to be a open door, open border policy for the world to come in and let this country be thrust into a third world status. That is not right. When we're a beacon of hope to the world, we have to act like a beacon of hope to the world.
Well, you're absolutely right. And 2 weeks ago on the HorseSenseBlog.com, I did write about that very issue because I think that's absolutely the truth. And the sad part is, not only do we have this problem going on, but I think we have an obligation, like you just talked about, to take care of our own people. And we don't have the resources to take care of our own, let alone somebody else.
That's right.
This is what Americans don't understand. Every time they spend $1, over 40% of that money is being borrowed from other countries. And so we don't have the money. We are literally a bankrupt nation, and we're used to being the wealthiest nation on earth. We are not anymore. We are paupers, and so here we are taking in people that we can't afford to take in. It reminds me of, I'm a huge animal lover, and I'm sure many of your listeners are too, and many of us have pets, dogs, cats, horses, whatever. And in my lifetime, and I never had pets as a kid, but as an adult, I've had 42 animals between dogs, cats, and horses. And one of the decisions I made over the years was that I would only have at any given time as many animals as I could afford to have and give a really good home to. Because I see, and you see these stories all the time where they'll go into somebody's home and they'll find somebody, it's usually some old person, and they'll find, 50 cats or 70 dogs in the house. It's just unbelievable the things they find. And this is not good for the animals or the people. And my philosophy has always been, you do what you can afford to do and work on your own little part of the world to help those little creatures. I always get animals from shelters where I get mine. And you are doing a good thing. But when you take on too many, you don't help anybody. Well, now, in the same sense, America can't afford to be taking in more people that we have to support. So we shouldn't be doing that. It's one thing to let people in who will add to our country and help our economy grow and be prosperous in our country and do good things for our country. But to just take in people and be pouring resources into them that we don't have is damaging to our nation. It's irresponsible.
Absolutely. Doug, I really want to continue this conversation on, but a half hour with you goes way too fast. And while I've got just a minute left here, I want you to plug your new book and tell us how it's doing. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, the new book is called The Leadership Secret, and I wrote that one after No Tomorrows, both of which are still in print, and both are still selling well. And The Leadership Secret takes one aspect of No Tomorrows. No Tomorrows defined the 3 core problems in America and how we fix them. And one of those problems was we don't choose the right people to lead our country. And The Leadership Secret addresses that and says this is the criteria we must have if we're going to lead. And it applies to all areas of life, not just the people we elect to office, but also in our personal lives, at home, in our family, in civic organizations, in our churches, wherever. So it's really a book that teaches people what is really required to be put in leadership. And what you will find when you read it is very few people qualify. And that's important because we need to be very selective in who we put in leadership.
Absolutely. Doug, thank you so much. God's blessings to you. We'll talk to you next Wednesday morning. And the very best to you, your blog, the Horse Sense blog, and your book. And we'll look forward to next Wednesday's conversation. Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Zeb. I'll talk to you next week.
You bet. God bless. Thank you much. Doug Johnson in Colorado, author and just really a nice guy. Glad to have him on the program. Hey, don't forget our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, and that's Kyle and Whitney Cheney, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, and their phone number is 678-6945. Their slogan is where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart, and they've got a guarantee that they can meet or beat any price on Flooring. They'll give you free in-house consultation, and they are the best with countertops. They use all the natural stone, Oakley stone, great with carpet and cabinets, everything. Beautify your home. Talk to these people. Kyle and Whitney Cheney of Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the Blue Door. Big things are going to be happening in Jerome next week, Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, and let's talk about that rodeo just a little bit. It's going to be August 5, 6, and 7, and they're going to have Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night. That's going to be on August 7th, and along with all the livestock exhibits, the carnival, and all the rides, and the hypnotist is going to be there, and the food. You've got to go to the Jerome County Fair. They've got food booths that'll knock your Justins off. It is a lot of fun, so don't miss a minute of it. Put it on your calendar, Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, August 5 through 9. Where? At the Jerome County Fairgrounds. Boy, that is fun for the whole family. By the way, the other day we had a lady on our program, and she was Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology with Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Are you hearing everything? I mean, sure, sometimes husbands and wives, they'll kind of turn each other off, but you know, as far as their hearing and what the comments were, well, wait a minute, are you really hearing everything? Hearing loss is not a part of aging, and don't ignore hearing that is lost. It's not an age problem, and if you want to find out what you might be missing and what you're not hearing, you better check with Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, and they're located at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka County Hospital, across from the emergency room. Easy to find, or give her a call for an appointment today to hear what maybe you're missing. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Wonderful lady serving you. Also, I want to remind everybody real quick about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, there is nobody better. They know life insurance. They know health insurance. They know retirement planning. They know employee benefits, and they can help you with yours. Dedicated and responsive to your needs, two great guys, Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, located on Highway 24 in Rupert. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, 436-4424. Well, right now, it's a crying shame that I haven't had this man on my program before. Calvin Perkins, get real close to that microphone. It's one of those directionals. How are you this morning? Good to have you on the program.
Good, Zeb. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a treat for me because of your talent and your ability. This man, Calvin Perkins, owns a company called AMP Mechanical Bulls. And basically, AMP Equipment was kind of a catch-all equipment company. At first, you built a lot of things, and more recently you started building these mechanical bulls. Is that true?
Yeah, Zeb, we started out with some fall protection for rail cars. We went into a little bit of trimming chutes for cattle and other things in that area, roping chutes, stuff in the arena. Then we stayed with the mechanical bull. I had a partner when I began, a real brilliant partner, and he helped me when we got started, and then he went back to school and we split up, and I stayed with the bucking machine end of it, and it turned out real well for me.
I need you to pull that mic just a little closer. Calvin, your ability goes way back to, you used to ride bulls, and we're a darn good bull rider in professional rodeo, and so were your boys. Where did all the concepts and the thought in your mind occur to build mechanical bulls and start sending them all over literally the world?
Well, the first thing we did there, Zeb, was we needed some practice, and my boys, when I quit riding, I think in 81 or 82, my boys were little then by just being born. Then when we got into the late 80s and 90s, they wanted to ride, and I thought, well, I always wanted to build a good bucking machine, but it had to have good motion in it. If it was going to do something, it had to teach you something. And that's
so basically be realistic.
Yeah. And that's what we did. We actually had help from Sean Davis. Mickey Young helped us, Charlie Sampson, and we took a rodeo video and we placed the bucking motions of horses and bulls in mathematics and rolling motion, and then incorporated into the machines, and we come up with a super machine that would accommodate horses and bulls with variable changes on it, and that's how we started. I started out selling the first year, I think, 8 machines to colleges. The next year it went to 14, and then I was selling both to colleges and I started selling to the bar industry for entertainment.
Holy smokes. Now, from the get-go, the very first machine that left your property here at Murtaugh till right now today, how many machines have you probably made and sold literally across the world?
Well, we're closing in on 500 right now.
500.
And they're all hand-built by me in my shop here, real close. And I think the best year I had, I think I turned out 36 machines.
In 1 year?
In 1 year. And I also was farming and ranching, but I had the help of my boys and my good wife, and we got it done.
Okay, now, you are so talented. You talk about building the chutes and everything. Calvin, as a matter of fact, when I built my arena, oh my goodness, 20 years ago, made the rope and chute and also the strip and chute down at the other end. And how did you get this ability? I mean, this is God-given. I can't even tie shoes. That's why I wear boots.
Well, I always liked working with metal, and I actually, in between farming in the wintertime, I worked for Shockey Sheet Metal, and I learned a great deal from them. In the winter times, I think I worked 3, it could have been 4 years in the winters, up to 6 months for them in stainless steel, and Brad Shockey kind of took me under his wing, showed me a lot of stuff, and I learned most of it from him. I learned the right way to do stuff that way.
Well, building the bulls has now become your main job. I mean, basically the other repairs or building of chutes, that's kind of secondary, isn't it?
It is right now, Zeb. Actually, what happened there a few years ago, before the economy kind of fell around here, I actually sold some of my property, and because I needed to spend more time with this business, and it was kind of burning the candle at both ends for me and my wife, and so we made that decision, and it was a good decision, and we went ahead and started. I just do this mainly.
So now, I'm going to just make this supposition because I think it's true from what I've heard. Some of the mechanical bulls that you've made have been featured in major motion pictures too, haven't they?
Yes, quite a few of them. I didn't. They weren't in my name at the time. I sold them. I actually had sold to a company there in Hollywood that did a few films, such as Charlie's Angels, where the Cameron Diaz rode that. They covered it in a yak at the front of the show. It's been on Hardee's commercials, Kings and Queens on a Christmas special, just numerous things. They show up all over in different shows.
Now, do you, as the manufacturer, do you write it into the contract that if it's going to be used in a commercial, you get the residuals paid off of that?
Well, I should have, but I didn't do it that way. I guess what happened, they went a lot farther than I thought they would.
Now, when you sit down and build a machine, do you have a prototype, A, B, C, D, this one needs this needs this? Are they basically now all structured the same, or do you look at each individual mechanical bull or horse as being a different machine?
No, they're pretty basic right now. If I do a machine for colleges, then I have to go back to the 3-event machine, I call it. And there is quite a bit of difference body-wise, and we have a real fancy buck rein attachment that takes 8 inches of rein on the down and gives it on the up. For saddle bronc riders have to key off the head, and so we gave them the live motion of a horse's head working it. So that's how we set that. But as far as the mechanical bulls in the bars, I have a set style now that we went with, and it's all due to safety right now, and I have to follow those safety standards. We've spent quite a bit of money on it's the same as an amusement rides. I have to meet all the codes as them, and it's cost us quite a little, and we've got it done and have had for years. I just finished here with McClure Engineering, went over some new codes for me to meet 2014 machine, and that's with it's called amusement rides and specialties, and they have codes that they have to meet. And we met them. I've been real lucky. Everything that I've built has met all the codes. We have changed nothing.
Did you at any time, Calvin, I mean, let's face it, 30 years ago you were getting on the real thing in a chute and pulling that rope tight and nodding for the gate. Did you have any idea that in 2014 you'd be going through all of this and all the paperwork and all the regulations and everything else?
No, not at all. Things have changed now. I'm like you. I love your show because I'm still old school. And everything I do is old school.
The livestock business and the rodeo business, it demands that I think more today for rough stock riders than any other time. We're seeing a lot of these kids that are not cowboys. They weren't born and raised on ranches. They're coming out of the cities. They're taking up an interest in learning how to ride. And quite frankly, the rodeo business, there's big money in it, especially with the PBR, Professional Bull Riders Tour, etc. And I'll bet you the sky's the limit on how many machines you've got to make in the future.
Well, it's as of right now, we're on our 22nd year. I didn't think it'd go that far, but with the PBR, Bull Riders only started, and then PBR, a lot of people want to try that just to see what it feels like to look down the bull back. Naturally, they're not going to get on a live bull, but they love to try that, and it gives them that opportunity. Now, as far as on the rodeo end of it, I just got a call 2 weeks ago from John Luthi at Tennessee Martin College over there, and he was a qualifier in the bareback riding years ago. He called, and he's had my machine. He used to be a coach at Olathe, Kansas, and now he's back there, and he swears by my machines because, as you said, we have great athletes that will, in college you have the rodeo club, and they want to try it. You can take a great athlete, put him on the machine with a professional, teaching him the movements, the stuff. You can learn more quicker, faster, and do it right than you could get on 100 head of horses.
How do you, when you sit down and build these machines, and I've got to do a commercial break right after this, but how do you sit down from the first machine till today and synchronize the movements of a real animal? I mean, that takes a lot of study, doesn't it?
Well, as I said, we used engineering as the first method of it to place it in there in that rolling motion, and what it was added to it was the movement of that horse and animal. And we had to take that and pin that in mathematics off of the picture.
Now explain that to me, because you're talking to a guy that's not the brightest star in the sky when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Well, that rolling motion, we would stop the videos, pull it off of the video, and then we would take and actually pin it. Oh. And back then, and 20-some years ago, they had computers that would do that, but we had to do it by hand, and you just pin it all the way around that motion, and then you use a fulcrum point at the bottom, and then that's the pivot point of it.
So the computer age really jumped into your business so that you could, in layman's terminology, my point, you could take the movements of a bucking horse or a bull and synchronize to how the machine is going to be mechanized to move off of a computer, right?
You can, and the thing about it is they've taken my machines before, and I've had them in Texas. They placed a computer over it with hydraulics and made 6 different rides, but we found out over the years that the safety was still in a human being running it, and so it's also the best way for a student to learn is by the hands of someone that knows how to run it. A bull or bronc has the motion, but as you know, you've got to have a little bit of knowledge of rodeo to make the machine properly.
Do you, and I need to ask this question, this might be a little naive on my part, but when you watch a video of, let's say, some of the famous bulls that have made history, like Bodacious or Gunslinger or something like that, do you try to incorporate the patterns of the moves that might be all set and you don't have to have the hand control, or is everything reliant upon a hand control?
Well, as it is now, which has made our machine probably why it's number one in the hydraulic bucking machine industry, is because it's run by a person.
I see.
And when I take them out, I train them. I deliver them and train those people. Now, we also found out that over the years here, as I mentioned, the safety end of it, we had a lot of problems with the John Travolta era with that style of bucking machine. No safety mechanisms with it. It freewheeled.
And that was the urban cowboy craze.
Yeah. And that started it. And that they didn't have the safety issues in there. So we had to have a human being trained to do those safety issues. Now, as far as a computerized bull, they had a lot of problems with that. They couldn't shut them off quick enough. If the rider had a glove on that would actually shut the ride off, but it would shut off at the wrong time, different things like that. So we are lucky in our end because our bull is still pretty basic, and I'm having more safety, better safety than any of the others that are out there.
Calvin Perkins with A&P Mechanical Bulls. I got a lot more questions, and we're glad to have him in the studio, so stay tuned. Don't forget our friends at Lease Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Oberlin and Burley. They've got the best of Simmons mattresses. They've got the best of all your floor covering. They've got the absolute very best of everything you need for the beautification of your home. Don't forget to stop in and see them today. 459 Oberlin and Burley. Carpet, carpet, carpet. Rolls and rolls and rolls of carpet. Dining room furniture, living room furniture, and the biggest display of recliners you'll find anywhere. You got to go in and try one on. Make sure it fits and go home and be comfortable. Lease Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Oberlin and Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also, I want to acknowledge our friends at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh my goodness, the 2015 models are coming in right now. Dirt bikes, Can-Am, side-by-sides, and they've got a lot of rebates on some of the 2014 models. And by the way, they've got generators too. Never know when you're going to need a generator, especially the way the power shuts off here sometimes. You better check it out. If you're going camping, they've got your generators. So stop in and see them today. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, where the fun is sold. And by the way, they've got a fantastic service department at Let's Ride. Stop in and see them today. By the way, we're going to have a quick weather forecast, and MichaelRogersWeather.com is brought to you this hour by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin. Old Reese Widmeyer, Calvin knows Reese, manager of Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls. They're the great indoors for everything you want to do outdoors. You better believe it. Friendly experts, quality gear, down-home attitude for all your hunting, fishing, archery, camping, boating, you name it, they've got it at Sportsman's Warehouse. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. It's going to be cloudy and yucky where you're at today. Scattered showers along with a possible chance of a thunderstorm. Cooler temperatures, though, 86 for the high, 68 for the overnight low. This will continue until tonight, also until tomorrow, tapering off tomorrow night, and then you got yourself a nice weekend coming up. So other than that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
Thank you, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you this hour by Sportsman's Warehouse. Love that store. 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Calvin, when you sit down and we got a picture he's handing me right here of Calvin Mechanical Bull Rides. Where was this picture taken?
It was a couple years ago at Auburn, California. We were asked to come down there, and I actually did a commercial and some stuff for Ford dealerships down there, and we stopped and did that rodeo on the way down, and set up in them beautiful trees there.
Oh man, you know, really, I'm looking at a very, very posh area. Looks like you've got all the mats and the padded material and equipment there around the bull, and some very comfortable chairs. When you go to an event, can I have that?
Yes,
I appreciate that. That's going to go up on my wall. As you can see, we've got very limited space on the wall. When you go to these events, what's the reaction when you go, like you were at Elko at the Silver State Stampede? compete? I mean, a lot of people want to try riding these, don't they?
Oh, they do. I love going to Elko. It's such a cowboy rodeo and event there, and I know a lot of people there. So we've been asked to go down. We've been going a few years down there. It's close, and I like go. I only do about 8 shows a year, really? And I mainly build and try not to compete as much. But if I'm asked to go somewhere, I'll do it. I'm doing a church function tonight for Mickey Young, which you know very well, and I do a few of those. And it's the reaction from the people is they're a little bit scared at first, but our machine's so controllable, we can put any age on it and barely move it, and then as they progress, we can speed it up a little. But they really get a good kick out of it. It's something they just want to try, but they just don't ever have a chance, you know.
Let me ask you. I would imagine that you are at locations where you're going to get the guy and the girlfriend with another couple, and the guy's going to come up and he's going to, I can ride anything with 4 legs and hair. And I would imagine you get kind of a wry grin on your face watching that kid stand on his head, right?
Oh, yeah. We have fun. We have fun with the crowd, and then the people you meet are so good about it. We've just had excellent luck with not making anybody mad, making them have a good time, and I don't know, it's just been countless times that people come up to us and tell us this made our whole trip to the fair was this for the kids.
Now, one thing that's really unique, is it not, about your bulls that you make, these mechanical bulls? They look like the real thing. I mean, you even put the hide on them and everything else.
Yeah, we do. It's real. The heads are real. Of course, we stuff the horns out of the same hide and then make them soft that way, but everything's real. Hides come out of Brazil. They're very high-quality hides, and we try to make them last, that way. So
now, as you look at the future of what's going on in our economy, and you look at the rodeo business, and you look at the bull riding business, the PBR, through some great corporate sponsors, has really gained notoriety on NBC and other major networks. Yeah. What about the future for these machines?
Well, it seems to be getting brighter for me. Of course, we went through a recession here a while back, and it slowed down, and now it's picking back up. Last year I did 3 venues for PBR back east, St. Louis, Louisville, Kentucky, and Philadelphia, and they have 3 more online. And there's actually a company that sells the bar logo. It's called PBR Bar, or PBR Rock Bar.
Hold on a second. We had a little difficulty with our phone line, and
there you go.
All right, Gina, thank you. And there again is one more reason why my temper sometimes flares. We were cut off inadvertently, and hopefully everything is going to be all right. You were saying that you've got a lot of venues on the East Coast. Go ahead, Calvin.
We do. The PBR sanctioning of their bars, company places them in for people. If they want to put a bar in, they will do that with the PBR logo, and naturally they want the realistic thing there as a bull for it, and they have really went over well back east. They actually don't charge for the bull rides; they're free in the bars in that scene there, and so they're allowed people to get on all they want, and it keeps the crowd there. Of course, keeps them making money, and they do little competitions on them, and then I do maintenance programs with them, and I swing back there through a route and do the maintenance on them.
You know, you and I aren't kids anymore, and we're kind of watching our grandkids and everything, but you were going to slow down and enjoy the property, and then you got a really nice place here at Murtaugh, and you got a farm, and you got a lovely wife. Man, that traveling, carrying these mechanical bulls all over the country, that's not easy either.
Well, it isn't. I'm actually quite tired of it, driving. As far as meeting with the people and doing what I do, I love that, but the driving's not been very good. I've literally wore out probably 10 Ford pickups, and then now I'm driving a truck I've had for 7 years. a diesel truck, big diesel truck, and it'll last a while. But I learned as I went. But the problem with shipping the machines, which I still do ship them worldwide, but Yellow Freight actually right out of Murtaugh here, if I don't deliver them to a person here in America, I'm on the phone with them for weeks. So I just place that delivery charge in on it, and I deliver them personally and then set them up, and I don't really hardly hear from them after that.
Let me ask you something. When you set these up and you go on a personalized service type thing and show the people how to run these, does it take a long time, a day, 2 days, whatever, of learning how to run the mechanics of these mechanical bulls?
Well, what I do with the sale of it is that I tell them that I will train 2 people on the spot, and so I want them to have them there, and I always try to set myself up before I get there, which I do is by telling them, would you have someone there that is kind of mechanically inclined? For instance, if you had a backhoe operator step up to my machine within 5 minutes, he'd be running it.
Really?
And so it's just 2 levers, and you have to keep good eye observance on everything, but they're very easy to run. Someone with good coordination can run them. The only big problem I have across the U.S. is they hire and fire help. Mm-hmm. And so we have to retrain, or else they have to have someone train them, and then naturally our insurance companies want that in place, you know.
Now, what about internationally? You can't be jumping on airplanes with a bull, a mechanical bull, and flying to Brazil or wherever, Japan. Do you send, and have you sent mechanical bulls to those foreign countries?
I have, Zeb. I've sent them out of the country here. I usually have to send a videotape, and
really?
For instance, a few years ago, I think it's been 3 years ago, we sent one to Turkmenistan. Now, they're drilling oil in that area, and I guess it's a tourist area, but they placed a Western bar in that area there, and we had a young fellow from Burley ready to go over there and set that up, and we were actually hours away from him flying out, and they called me back. The machine had arrived there, and they had it broken down, set up, and they actually called back and said there was a gentleman from Australia that had one of my bulls, and he was working in the area. He set it up and run it for him, and so that saved us some time.
Now, this is over where, near Afghanistan?
Well, Turkmenistan's, it was in Turkey. It was on I think the Baltic Sea, on the edge there. But it was a real weird area for me to send one. That's kind of, I've sent them to, naturally to Australia and to Hawaii and Germany, Austria.
What about Brazil? We're getting an awful lot of talented athletes out of the country of Brazil in the PBR, etc. Is Brazil really the up-and-coming market?
Well, for me right now, I think there's one machine in there, and it was taken over by a PBR rider. But as of right now, I haven't sent them personally over there.
I see.
We do have quite a bit of talent coming out, great talent coming out of there, but I haven't sent any over to that country yet.
Stand by. I'll be with you for some final thoughts. Calvin Perkins, a man that I admire, his business, his tenacity, and also his knowledge. He's a very sharp person. Kelly's Bearings, 1407 East Main Street in Burley, says, hey, come on to the Cassia County Fair. Don't forget, they're one of the main fair sponsors, saying you better come on down to Burley. Kelly's Bearing keeps everything on hand so you don't have to waste your time or your money. Bearings, chains, brackets, you'll know where you are when you get your bearings at Kelly's Bearings in Burley. Also, K&R Rental, 256A South, 600 west of Heyburn. Don't forget, locally owned and operated. K&R has it all, from air compressors, pivots, tractors for landscaping. They've got all the equipment and tools that you need at K&R Rental in Heyburn. And last but not least, Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 south of Burley. Magic Valley Irrigation has been offering irrigation system service and repair to Burley since 1978, manufacturing wheel line elbows, and they also sell and service Cornell and Berkeley. Magic Valley Irrigation. Our thanks to them for helping promote the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 2014. Calvin, we're almost out of time, but what about the boys? Both of them were excellent bull riders. They're grown up now and have families of their own. Bull riding still popular up at your house?
Well, they want to do it. Levi he says it's never left him, which it never does, and he would like to try it again. But he's, as he is, he's a college instructor down there for diesel tech and doing very well. And my other son, Chancey, he has a heavy equipment business and runs a truck for Young & Young, which he's a partner in, and also has some very good horses that was breeding out of Ray McFarland's out of Wise Camp out of Colorado. He breeds some nice horses, and they're staying here close to here. They have land here and raising their families here, which is good for me and my wife.
Not to give away any secrets or anything, but now let's just say with your ability, and you're still a young guy. I mean, what are you, about 55 maybe at the most?
57.
57. You've still got a lot of productive years left. If all of a sudden the mechanical bull market worldwide dried up, I'll bet you any money you probably got some irons in the fire that are heating up to build something else.
Well, I actually do, Zeb, right now, and I don't want to disclose them. I have some stuff I'm working with some people on the East Coast.
Really?
And that, and it'd be a second phase for me, and so...
Good for you.
So we're working on it. Naturally, it takes a lot of money for some things, and that's what it's going to do for a while here. So,
man, I'm proud to know you and proud to have you as a friend and neighbor because of your abilities. You are sharp. Calvin Perkins, A&P, Mechanical Bulls, going all over the world. Calvin, I know you're busy, and I appreciate you coming up here. God bless you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. Thanks for having me. I love your show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I love it, too, because it helps pay the bills.
Well, you're very good for us. The political end of things here's gotten so out of hand. I appreciate you having your talk show people on. It really enlightens all of us. It's a wonderful show.
I appreciate it. Calvin Perkins, A&P Mechanical Bulls, the best. We're going to take a little break and come back with Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia, and the problems that these illegal alien children are bringing in the form of diseases that might be a major problem for all of us here in the United States. Don't go away. I'll see you back in 6. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you. And, boy, serving is the correct word. They really take care of you. Also, we want to say thank you very much to some of our great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, getting rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. Hey, by the way, let me take a look at what's going on at the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. They're going to have Chipotle Lime Flat Iron Steaks with choice of potato, veggies, and super salad for just $10.95 today. Oh, that sounds so good. I'm telling you, get in there. The menu is always great. The people and the service fantastic. You're going to love the environment inside the grill, all the sports paraphernalia, everything, memorabilia, it's all there. Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Also, real quick, if you need plumbing and you need a plumber, you better call Harris Plumbing NG for all your plumbing service needs. One call. Just pick up the phone and dial 431-8633. Problem solved. Excellent service, reliable, responsible, and professional. The job is done right. How do I know? Because they are my plumber. You better believe it, Harris Plumbing NG. One call does it all, 431-8633. And you know, in the case of this next lady that's on the program with us, one call does it all for information when it comes to what's happened to us, the American public, with Obamacare, and what's happening now with the immigration problem. I'm going to reword that. It's not an immigration problem. It's an illegal alien invasion problem from our borders to the south and all the health risks. And I'd like to say good morning to a lady that's been on this program many, many times in the past, and I value her friendship and also her knowledge. Good morning, Dr. Elena George. How are you?
I'm still trying to contact her. She's not answering her phone.
And you scared me, Doctor.
Yeah, I know. And then the backup number was her agent, so her agent's also trying to get a hold of her as well.
Okay, very good. Well, I appreciate it if you keep on trying to get her. And in the meantime, we'll take any and all calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This happens in live radio, and you never know, there might have been an emergency to where where she is a practicing physician and has her own patient schedule, etc., down in Atlanta, Georgia. But interesting, and I've got to give her some accolades. She was just recently honored with membership in the leading physicians of the world, and also Who's Who Top Doctor Honors edition. So this lady is absolutely excellent, and I look forward to having her on with her opinion. While we're waiting to see if we can get her on this morning, we'll take some more calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I'm waiting for your calls, don't forget, sugar beet growers, I've got some information for you. Introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content for your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound, Xemium, that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. As I said, with the application of BASF's Preaxor, 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the political and possibility potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. So contact your local ag chemical supplier today. Right now, don't put it off. Or for more information, call BASF Ron Ellis, good friend of mine, 431-6776. Or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, there was a time in this country when you, even if though you came clear across the Atlantic, and you were at Ellis Island, and they checked in every one of those immigrants and checked their health, and if they had a problem like with tuberculosis or anything like that, consumption, whatever that was a term, they would send them back across the Atlantic at their own expense, and they had to go home. Now, think about the unbelievable risk that we are taking with these children and the disease, and let alone the crime and everything else, and how we have worked so hard through all these years to eliminate these things like you have said. Mm-hmm. And last night I was watching a show called The Winter's Tale, and they sent this poor gentleman back all the way back home, and he had no choice. And think about how this policy is so insane, and the risks that we are taking, and we as people are allowing it to happen. It's scary. It scares the hell out of me.
Well, it should. And I'll tell you what, I just got word from Gina through my headsets and on the phone that we do have Dr. George on the line. And so, Randy, thank you very much for those comments. As I said a moment ago, we are blessed on this program with having basically the cream of the crop, the people that really know what's going on. And this lady is the best. Dr. Elena George has spoken out freely on this program many, many times about the negatives of Obamacare, and right now I've got her on the program to talk about this illegal alien problem on the border with health risks. Good morning, Dr. George. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. With patience.
No, I understand, and you are a very busy lady, and I appreciate the time you can give us this morning. I guess in a nutshell, to get things started for a lack of time this morning, there are those in this country, Dr. George, that are making this border problem seem like it's just very vanilla and it's not a problem at all. I am very concerned about these children being used as pawns for politics, possibly for an amnesty program, but deeper than that, I'm very concerned about our American children, our schools, etc., being subjected to diseases coming across the border that we thought we had control, but now might run rampant again in this country. Is that a possibility?
You have an absolute right to be concerned about everything that you just mentioned. So am I. This border crisis is politics. If you want to distill it down, it's all about winning at all costs. And I want to be very clear, I'm not against immigration because my father was an immigrant. He was sponsored by his aunt. It took him 3 years to get here, and he came through the right way. So I am not against it. But when you start talking about what's going on the southern border, it's about safety. It's about protection of not only the American people, but the people being enticed to come through this gauntlet. There are diseases that, you're right, tuberculosis is one of the diseases that we really did control over. When I was a resident, I had to rotate through a tuberculosis unit. We had to wear special gowns, special masks. We had to go into negative pressure rooms because it was so contagious. And that was when there was only a single drug that would combat it. Some of these folks are coming from countries where drug-resistant tuberculosis is ingrained. So they may be bringing a different strain into the country, which is extremely hard to treat. Tuberculosis is not something that you want to have. That's why they had sanatoriums back in the, 20s and the 30s, because you had to literally wall these people off from other members of society because they could pass it. You can have TB and not know you have it. You don't have to have a fever. It's passed by coughing, sharing cups, and any kind of airborne transmission. So I'm thinking ahead like you are. These children I've heard now the government wants to put them in schools this fall. Just they're not being checked. Not well anyway. And they're just going to enter a classroom. And every child, every teacher, every worker that they come in contact with is at a potential health risk. It's unconscionable. It's cynical. And as a doctor, I can't sit by and say nothing. The other diseases that we've already seen cross the border and actually are in our hospitals as well is bacterial pneumonia, swine flu, and meningitis. A Border Patrol agent contacted bacterial pneumonia in Texas, and 2 people have swine flu, and 2 children are in the hospital in California in the ICU, and 1 with meningitis. So these are not benign diseases. And for people who say, we're all immunized, it doesn't matter, these are diseases that, 1, the immunizations are not really prevalent, like for TB. They do have one, but Americans don't generally take it. And for the swine flu, the immunization is from 40 to 90% effective. So if you do get the vaccine, doesn't mean you're not going to get it. And we've already seen people who got immunized from measles, they're coming down with measles. So I'm not a big fan of just because you're vaccinated, you're 100% protected. You're not.
Dr. George, I don't want to turn this into an economics discussion, but let's face it. The American public, the American taxpayer, you and I, forget the fact that you're one of the most noted doctors in this country. Forget the fact that I'm a talk show host. You and I as taxpayers are footing the bill for this, and the costs of these people going into our hospitals and being treated is enormous. How can we afford this?
We can't afford it now for ourselves. Under Obamacare, the hospitals are now getting a rude awakening that what they were promised is not being delivered. The reimbursements for hospital procedures have been drastically cut. And hospitals are actually cutting doctors and nurses and ancillary staff because their bottom line has been affected. Now if you add in hundreds of thousands potentially of people into the healthcare system, nobody's covered. It can't be. They don't have insurance. Those are all going to be free bills that are generated back to the taxpayer. And I'm about helping humanity. All right, this is not an us or them, in my opinion. We're all in it together. That's how I see this. They are much victims of this situation as we're becoming. And they're being diced because of politics. The Democrats want them for future votes. The Republicans in the Chamber of Commerce, for example, want them for cheap labor. And the Americans are sitting by the wayside, just like spectators, being pushed to the back of the line. That's not appropriate. And, I just want to say that I want to put myself in their place for 1 minute. Going 1,700 miles, walking or traveling in a train, having to run a gauntlet of people who are preying on you. If you have to take birth control as a woman just to leave your country because the chance of you being attacked is so high that you want to prevent pregnancy, that's a problem. And children ending up in the sex trafficking trade, not having family members coming into to actually join, just God knows what, and people being recruited into gangs, they're grist for the mill. And they're also being used for an agenda. And if we're promising them milk and honey, but they're coming in and they're entering, reopened prisons and FEMA camps and auditoriums where they're next to someone who's sick, they're in no better shape than we are. And I challenge anybody who says that if you question this, you're racist, you're sexist, you want people to die. I want to know what their evidence is in terms of compassion. What do they think compassion is? Because I think of it as a war on women, children, and the American people all at the same time.
Dr. George, let me ask you this, and I don't want to seem like I'm hard and calloused and against kids any more than our governor for the state of Idaho. Governor Butch Otter is a friend of mine, and he came out with a statement this last weekend that basically said, no, federal government, you caused this problem. Don't try to pawn these kids off on us in the state of Idaho or anywhere else and shame us into taking them. I agree with the governor. We have to say no. We have to say enough is enough, and we have to curtail this border problem. What are your thoughts about a governor and a state that basically said, like down in Murrieta, California, no, don't bring them here?
I absolutely agree with them. This is about a rule of law issue. And, you know, I think most people think of the humanitarian crisis, children as infants, as toddlers. Under the DREAM Act, a child was considered to be anybody under the age of 30. And only 10% of the people coming in are actually children. The rest are teens, young men, young adults, unaccompanied, who have no gainful employment that they're coming to, who are able-bodied, and who are looking to victimize somebody. The crime rates are going to go through the roof. There's already been, I think today, a report of an illegal immigrant in Arizona killing somebody. There was another episode in Philadelphia a couple days ago. This is what we're bringing in. We're bringing in drugs, we're bringing in guns, and we're using children as the face of it so people will stand down because they don't want to be seen as not compassionate. But that's not reality. If you talk to anybody on the border, the children are the smaller percentage of this. This government has actually been doing this for quite a while. We're just now knowing of it. And actually said they have money available to literally bring people into the country, pay the churches to take them, pay families to take them in, like the foster situation, up to $6,000, $8,000 per 3 people that you bring in. This is a system. This is designed. This is not by accident. I don't believe this is a humanitarian crisis that just came up out of the blue. This is well coordinated.
I agree.
And what they're trying to do is shame people into not saying anything or asking any questions, and we have to, not only because of economics, but really more so because of health. Because once you get a tuberculosis infection, if it's a resistant strain, that could kill you. That's unacceptable.
Dr. George, I think now, at this juncture of our conversation, is an excellent time for you. My feelings are that it's almost child abuse for parents not to immunize and vaccinate their children prior to going to the schools, to take care of their children for diseases like polio, measles, etc. I am a polio victim. You and I have talked about this. I do not want to see anybody come in from a third world country and start a reinfection of the poliomyelitis disease here in this United States again. But why are parents so absolutely set on not immunizing their children and playing Russian roulette with their health? I don't understand it.
Well, it's a very complex answer, Jeff. I'm not against vaccinations either. However, I have questions about the safety of the vaccines that are being given to people. And there are way many more vaccines now than when you and I were children, like the hepatitis vaccine, like the it's called for the I'm so sorry. It's for I'm just throwing a blank for some reason, but it's for ear infections. Mm-hmm. And everything has a cost and benefit to it. Now we're seeing resistant bacteria cropping up from people who've been vaccinated for things that may not need to be vaccinated against. Diphtheria is another example. Now there's an increase in the number of cases. So I think we need to really look at the vaccine industry a little bit more carefully, find out what they're putting in the vaccines, find out what the additives are, because I think that they may be playing a negative role. But vaccinations in general, I don't have an issue with. It's just what's in them. So it shouldn't be one size fits all, honestly. And from a science perspective, I got mumps, measles, and chickenpox as a child. I will never get mumps and measles again. And if I get chickenpox, it will be, if it happens, it'll be shingles. But that's very rare. But the increased risk of and the increased prevalence of these diseases are actually, even though you're vaccinated, you still may get them down the road. There's nothing better than natural immunity. That's a scientific point. We're trying to one-up nature, and you kind of can't. When it comes to polio, I'm totally with you. That needs to be given. Something that's life-threatening, smallpox, no question. But thousands of vaccines by the time you're out of school may be a little bit too much for the immune system to tolerate. So that's a whole different show. But ultimately, we're talking about things that you can't vaccinate against.
Right.
TB, swine flu, things that kill people. Some of these tropical diseases like Chagas disease, dengue, fever, those are things, as a doctor, we don't know about. And that's what's going to come into our system as well.
You know, that's what's going to come into our system as well. Your final thoughts on that phraseology. And also, I was absolutely shocked and scared last night when I listened and watched a story about the Ebola virus over in Africa being very transportable now, possibly with people getting on airplanes, etc. And, Doctor, right now, I think that this world is more susceptible for the spread of disease because of the interaction with people so easy. Am I wrong in worrying about this, or is this just something that the media is blowing out of proportion?
No, actually, the media is doing a better job than the CDC and the government, in my opinion, at this point. We've already seen Ebola go from Congo, which is Central Africa in 1996, where it started, to West Africa. Now there's stories today of a doctor in Canada who was in West Africa who was self-quarantining himself, and somebody who may have got on a plane from Kenya who may have been infected going to Hong Kong. You're right, it can travel by air. What I'm concerned about is people coming through the southern border. There's stories now where mainland Chinese are paying to come through the border, where people from Africa are coming through South America, Central America, into the United States through the open border. That's where we need to really put our resources and really think about what could happen.
My frustration is, and I've got to wrap it up after this question, but my frustration is this doesn't have to happen. We do not have to be besieged with these children coming through this border. We do not have to be besieged with these people crossing our border illegally in the dead of night. This government, for some reason, is hell-bent on increasing the risk to the American taxpayer, both financially and physically, and I can't understand why they won't abide by the laws.
Because it's about politics, and it's about winning at all costs, and health and Americans, whatever. You know, they don't care less about us. Only thing they care about is that we push a button and vote for them. And they'll do anything to divide and conquer us. They'll do anything to make us vote against our own interests. They'll push every single button that pushes the emotion button, and the critical thinking button, part of the brain just turns off. I think it's now time, and maybe this is the perfect storm, and the reason that will do this, we need to start considering ourselves to be Americans. We have a common point. All of us are in this together. If we don't stand up and say we're not going to take this anymore, we will not be voting for you. We want you gone. Vote out every single incumbent. They're comfortable. They know that they can lie to us, and we'll just say, okay. And if we do question, then we're sexist, racist, whatever ism you want to put on us, and we'll just shut up. PC needs to stop, and it's about protecting yourself, your family, your friends, your country. That's what it comes down to.
Dr. Elena George, absolutely. Again, kudos. I want to compliment you on the many awards that you have, recently honored with membership in the leading physicians in the world and Who's Who Top Doctor Honors Edition. Thank you so much for sharing with us on the program. Please know I want you back in the future. God bless you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to come back and talk with you again.
Thank you very much. Dr. Elena George, absolutely very interesting and informed on the border crisis, and also one of our favorite guests to have on the program regarding Obamacare. Don't forget, there are many, many people that are supporting, of course, the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, and I want you to get your tickets for the Chris Cagle concert. My goodness, this is going to be a good concert on Tuesday, August 12th, right during the middle of the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, August 11th through the 16th, and don't forget PRCA Rodeo action, the best of exhibits, horse races, entertainment extraordinaire, always at your Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Write the dates down, and don't forget to get your tickets for the Chris Cagle concert, Tuesday, August 12th. The concert starts at 8 p.m. Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 2008. and 14. We are going to send this back over to our main studios and give it to them for a couple of minutes. We'll be back with our next guest. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Best.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Last half hour of the program this morning, and we're going to welcome onto the show a gentleman that I think it's his first time on my program, and he's written an article about big game hunting, and we welcome Gannon LeBlanc. How are you, Gannon?
I'm doing well, Zeb. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it is a pleasure, and I guess first and foremost, I need to find out a little bit more about you. Give us a little background about you and your writing. Go ahead.
Well, my name is Gannon LeBlanc. I go to school at Eastern Michigan University where I study economics and business. I'm a big outdoors fan. I enjoy going out into the mountains, up to the Great Lakes, and all sorts of different places. And I got really interested in entrepreneurship and the ideas of freedom and liberty. I actually am on the North American Executive Board of a nonprofit called Students for Liberty, where we put on conferences, give out resources, and all sorts of other stuff to college students all over the nation and now all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Now, you recently, I'm having a hard time hearing you, so if I could get Gina to turn you up just a little bit in my headset and possibly have you speak up a little bit on your end, I'd appreciate it. You recently wrote an article about a young lady, Kendall Jones, and she is a big game hunter, and she's 16 years of age, and I saw this story on the news, and there seems to be kind of animosity feeling against her for being a big game hunter, and even hunting all these animals legally. She's still taking a lot of pressure. Tell us about what you found out.
Okay, I can actually hear you kind of quietly as well, so I hope that this is better.
Yeah, we're having a bad connection here. The last hour has been not very good with my guests, so again, I apologize. If we can turn it up a little bit, I would appreciate it. I'm sorry that you're having a hard time. Deanne, does it need to go up? Oh, okay, good. Thank you. But anyway, go ahead and give us the story about Kendall Jones, if you would, please, Gannon.
Not a problem. So Kendall Jones is a 19-year-old college student that goes to Texas Tech University. She comes from a wealthy family and has been hunting in Africa since around the age of 9. Now, she's gone out and done what's called the Big Five, hunting, I believe it's rhino, lion, some of the other big games like crocodile and a few others. Now, the reason why she's getting so much, basically hate on her end is because a lot of people are just seeing her killing what's viewed as endangered animals. This is what's called, they see what is seen but not what is unseen. Which is all they see is her posting these pictures of her with her hair well done, looking pretty, hunting these endangered animals, but they're not realizing is all the benefits of what she's doing and the money that she's spending to do this on. So some of the main things, her money goes towards these private companies in Africa that spend a lot of it on maintaining the environment and maintaining the supply of endangered animals. Now, we've seen this in cases all over the world. We've seen this with deer. We've seen this with wolves, which actually the gray wolf was just taken off the endangered species list 2 years ago in 2012 because of these efforts. And what's happening is a lot of people are just seeing her killing. They're not seeing all the other things that she's saving and helping. If these opponents of hers wanted to make change, what they would have to do is find a way to generate funds or some sort of way to help protect these animals. Because there's not enough people willing to donate money from not enough people to donate money freely or willingly, the only way to do it is through an economic incentive, and that's through private business.
Absolutely. Gannon, let me jump in here and ask you this. When you did research for this article, you said you're an outdoorsman, you love the great outdoors like I do, and if it weren't for various groups like, let's talk about Ducks Unlimited. Ducks Unlimited has done so much for the restoration of ducks and hunting of ducks and the environment, etc. If it wasn't for groups like Ducks Unlimited, we wouldn't have the duck hunting that we have in North America. And they've done a lot to refurbish and restore the great hunting capabilities for these waterfowl. And the same is true for the big game hunters like this girl, Kendall Jones, is it not?
No, that's completely true. It's just being done on a higher level. Because people, they don't see ducks and they think of them as an endangered species or something that needs protecting, compared to when they look at like a lion or a rhino or a leopard. For some reason, they feel a different connection to these larger animals that they feel are more endangered, more threatened than anything else. Because of that, they're having a far more emotional reaction than they are a logical reaction.
I see. Now, is this just, let me ask you this bottom line. In your study for this article, Gannon, I'm just going to come right out and say it, that there is a demonization in this country against outdoor people like you and me. There's a demonization against hunting and fishing. There's a demonization for going out and using God's resources. Don't you think this might be part of the plan to stop hunting?
Maybe. I don't think it's a plan to stop hunting. It might be more of a plan to maybe shame hunters. But I don't know how strong or if there really is any movement that has even remote power to have anything to do with stopping hunting. I think it's such a well-entrenched part of Americana. I mean, you're from Idaho, I'm from Michigan. I know people all over the North that it is such an integral part of the state's economy, individual happiness, that there is just no way a group could come up and try and stop or even infringe upon hunting laws or the right to be able to do such a thing.
But I think you will agree with me, though, and I've got studies that will back this up, that there are many anti-gun groups that would love to see the sportsman's ownership of guns and the use of guns for hunting, etc., curtailed. And I'm kind of looking at this as a cloak and dagger type thing, one more nail in the coffin. If they can go after a girl like this and curtail her hunting, they can go after others.
Oh, on a gun debate, yes, that's going to be a whole different level. There's definitely many very strong and very vocal opponents against guns. I believe it's actually Boston's chief of police just came out with a statement saying that citizens don't need shotguns or rifles, even for hunting. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something that is going on, and that's a fight that's going to continue to go on for quite a while. Thankfully, we have many very also strong pro-gun groups. The NRA is definitely going to be the strongest there. That's going to be the defenders of our Second Amendment rights. You know, as far as using hunting as a cloak and dagger act, I do believe there's definitely going to be many anti-gun protesters against this girl, but you're going to see a lot more of the more environmental. I don't want to use the word hippie, but I can't think of any other word to describe them, that just don't want people killing animals or harming animals in any which way or form, whether it's by bow, gun, or any other means.
Well, being from Michigan, Gannon, and I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. The deer herds, they need harvesting. When you look at what's happening on the East Coast with the deer in Connecticut and other places, New Jersey, they need a harvesting situation. And the same is true for some of the big game in Africa and other parts of the world. They sell the licenses because they need management and they need harvesting. And this is not an illegality, it's just a fact of life.
Oh, you're 100% right on that account. Deer, especially even in Michigan, I know all throughout the north, is causing literally billions of dollars in damage in car wrecks and all sorts of issues like that. And in Africa, that's another thing that people don't quite understand, is the animals that she is hunting. She's not hunting the alpha male lion. She's going to be hunting the one that's either sickly, the one that's weak, the one that's old, the one that's not crucial to to the expansion of the species. They don't pick the best from the hunt. They pick the ones that need to be picked from the pack.
What about this girl herself? How has she reacted to the adverse publicity, the negative publicity? Have you followed up on that part of the story as to how it's affected her?
Yes, she has become far more vocal in fighting these people who have been hating and bashing on her. She's, I believe, actually having talks of getting her own television special with the Outdoors Channel for her next hunt in Africa. So she's really just sticking it to them, fighting back, keeping her chin up. But I gotta tell you, there's some pretty dirty things going on. There is a Democratic politician who put a $100,000 bounty out for anyone that had naked pictures of her to send them to him so he could basically just destroy her reputation.
Oh my goodness.
She's fighting us. She's keeping her chin up. She's fighting strong. She keeps posting things on Facebook. She's not backing down, even though there's some pretty dark things that are looking for her.
Let me ask you in general, Gannon, what's the bottom line? What did you find out as a general theme after you did some study about big game hunting and this girl? What's the general theme that you want my listeners to know?
The general theme is, although I understand many people have an emotional reaction, to try and look beyond that. Look at the good that is being done through big game hunting. Look at the history, the fact that time and time again we have seen through these conservationist efforts, through the funds made from entrepreneurs that have an interest in protecting the property rights of these animals and the land that these animals roam on, that this is honestly a good thing. Yes, some animals are going to die. They've been dying throughout history. It's no different than the animals that we have killed to put into our supermarkets. The meat is not wasted. It is not immoral. It's just the best thing that we can do to help bring these species back.
And manage the environment and manage these big game animals. I totally agree with you. Gannon, what other stories are you involved in other than this big game hunting story? Other stories that you want to mention here?
Well, I'm just having an article published on the ideas of higher education, talking about how the way it's been with my parents' generations, my grandparents' generations, they keep telling young people, millennials, go to college to be successful. And while that was true in their day, nowadays it's having almost an opposite effect, and how not going to college, but doing alternative things, like entrepreneurship, starting a business, picking up a trade or an apprenticeship, can actually lead to more success than going to college for a 4-year degree. And I go into many different statistics, studies, examples that break this down, but higher education is my next target.
All right. Well, Gannon LeBlanc, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the program and talking about Kendall Jones. Appreciate that very much. Excellent job on the article, and we'll call you and have you back on the show in the future. Thank you, sir.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. You know, I'm glad I had him on the air regarding that story. I remember seeing the television news, how they tried to demonize this young girl that's a cheerleader, I believe, for either Texas Tech or Texas A&M, I'm not sure. And she's had the availability handed to her to go big game hunting with some of her family members over in Africa, etc. Not doing one single thing wrong. Nothing. Everything licensed, everything on the up and up, and has brought back many trophy species. But again, as he said, reiterate the fact that all the meat from the animal had been donated to various charities over in Africa after the taking of the animal. Nothing wasted. And the heat, the negative heat that she has taken in this country from the anti-big game hunting and the animal rights groups, etc. And it's been a tough deal for her, and she's had to weather quite a storm. 19-year-old Kendall Jones, and we wish her the very best. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And right now it's time for a weather update with MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Yes, it's true. They are selling taste one bite at a time. Absolutely everything they sell guaranteed delicious. You check it out today. Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And right now here is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. It's going to be cloudy and yucky where you're at today. Scattered showers along with a possible chance of a thunderstorm. Cooler temperatures, though, 86 for the high, 68 for the overnight low. This will continue until tonight, also until tomorrow, tapering off tomorrow night, and then you got yourself a nice weekend coming up. So other than that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Right now, it's not looking too bad outside. Blue skies, a few wispy clouds out there. And, of course, the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Selling taste one bite at a time. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, you know, that gal, more part to her. There should be more people like her.
Well, I agree. You know, I'm going to ask Gina one more time if I can please get a little bit more volume in my headset. All of a sudden this hour,
I can, Jack.
It's gone completely down to the point where I'm just barely hearing a whisper. So evidently we've had something change in the last hour. First 2 hours, good. Last hour I'm having a hard time hearing.
I can't bump anything else up. I've got it maxed out.
We must be having some problem with a Gentner or something. I don't know what it is. But, Al, I agree with you that more power to this girl because she has not done one single thing wrong.
You know what she ought to do with that stupid dumbhead that takes her, puts out nude pictures of her? I'd show him how you pierce the ears with a .308 Savage on both sides and stay there. Now you want one on the end of the nose?
Yeah, but why would anybody want to put out a publicity stunt like this Democrat that he was talking about to try to imply that there are any pictures of this girl, try to ask if he could get pictures of this girl? That is so sick, and it's so absolutely insane to try to blemish her character by doing that. I find that pathetic.
Well, that's just what's been going on for about the last 5.5 years. It's getting worse and worse, and now it's getting so bad in the Senate that the Democrats are calling for Harry Reid to be fired.
Al, this situation that we have in Washington right now with Harry Reid acting as his own little dictatorship in the Senate and some of the comments that he has made over the last couple of months leads me to believe that maybe the man's sanity has been left at the Senate cloakroom door because he's not acting like he's got all of his marbles on the table.
Yeah, but that girl I admire for it. In fact, I've got a daughter that I would put up against anybody that wants to outshoot her, because she'll take anything and she'll down it one shot.
All right. Well, needless to say, you know my shooting abilities, so I'm going to stay out of the competition.
Yeah. You said you couldn't hit a bull in a boat, and for a rice you held the tail.
Well, it's true. You know, sometimes I'll surprise myself and something will walk into the target area and down itself, but I think it's either a kamikaze or a suicidal type animal. I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm not the best shot in the world.
Have a good one.
All right, Al. God bless you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Remember, I was thinking about this earlier this morning. Remember when we, as kids, we went places on our bikes? Remember we might be gone all day fishing? I can honestly remember the Bark River. The Bark River and the Rock River were two rivers that kind of ran around where I lived. And we might go on our bikes one day, all day fishing over at the Bark River, or we might go over to the Rock River. We were gone all day. Or maybe we'd be playing in the woods, or maybe we'd go to grandmas in town, and we'd go to the park, or maybe we'd go someplace downtown shopping by ourselves, our moms and dads. They just didn't worry about us to the point where something was going to happen. Well, right now, in Florida, a mother let her boy walk down the street to go to the city park, and one of the neighborhood do-gooders decided to turn her into the police, and she's possibly facing charges for child neglect and child abuse of letting this child basically go to the park by himself. I mean, wow. Gina, if you're listening, those days when we were growing up of being independent and going places by ourselves, they're gone, because now the do-gooders in our society, they will turn you in as a insufficient and irresponsible parent for child abuse if you're not with your kids 24/7.
My first question is, how old was the child?
The boy I'm talking about right now was 11.
Oh, he is free to go to the park if he wants to. It's not like he's a 3-year-old toddler walking around with a diaper on. He's old enough to go down to the park by himself.
Yeah, but you notice...
His mom fights this.
Yeah, but you know there is a criminalization of parents going on in this country, to where the parents, they're not good parents, they're bad parents. The school says they're going to raise the kids and not the parents. The parents' philosophy is all wrong, and there seems to be this criminalization. But my goodness, my mom and dad were good mom and dads. But what they let us do in those days would be considered illegal, and they might take them out of the home today.
Yes, honestly, and it's true. The way we were raised and the way we are mandated to raise our children now are totally different.
I used to leave in the summertime, and I would be gone all day long. I might go fishing, I might go over to the neighbors, and we might take the BB guns up in the woods or whatever, but we were gone all day long, and me and a couple of buddies, we'd be gone literally 5 days out of 7, and then get home in time to do chores. But I mean, there was no parental overseeing of us from like 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, in the summertime, we were allowed to roam free as long as we checked in every once in a while, we were allowed to go out. We'd walk out to the pond, we'd take the 3-wheelers and go fish off, or we'd go up huckleberry picking. As long as, we checked in, let them know that where we were going and what we were going to be doing. They didn't care.
Boy, those days are gone. And can you imagine, though, with your personality, give me a short answer on this, I got a commercial. With your personality, I can just imagine somebody walking up to you and saying, well, Ms. Jameson, we saw you let your boy Kennedy go over and get on that ride in the park, and you did not go over and get on there with him, and so we're going to turn you into the police for being a neglectful parent.
I would say, I would tell them first and foremost that they were number one in a very special way. And then number two, I would say, lawyer up, bud. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think things have got completely out of hand with the PC people in our United States, unfortunately. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the very best in tire values, all the different treads, all the different styles of tires for your driving needs. And don't forget, too, they handle front-end alignments for better handling and tire mileage, better than anybody else. The best in brake service, shocks and struts, batteries, it's all there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they've got easy credit plans available. Oh, yes, 4 different plans available for you, so they make it easy to shop for what your driving car needs are at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. 7 locations, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, whether it's your car, your SUV, your pickup, your horse trailer, your boat trailer, whatever, they've got all your tire needs and the best in service at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Excuse me, tomorrow being Thursday, we've got all kinds of things going on. Dog Nation, the Chamber Report. We've got Vicky's Country Garden with the gardening show. We've got Rita Ramsey. We've got all kinds of things to remind you of. And then also, I want to remind everybody, at 11:30, we're going to be at Denny's Restaurant. You better believe it. Denny's Restaurant for the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch at 11:30 tomorrow. Don't miss it. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, the way things were, the way things ought to be. Zeb at the Ranch. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.